Hi, I'm Hannah Jones and welcome to this week's MASTS Cast, the weekly online update video about what's been happening in the MASTS community this week. In this week's edition, we have an SMMR update from Dr. Mark James, and I chat to Dr. David Wolf from Heriot-Watt University about the SuperGen offshore renewable energy note that was submitted to Parliament earlier this week. But first, a shout out about webinars. This has been a very busy week for webinars because it was World Ocean Day on June 8th and has then been World Ocean Week throughout. So I'm sure plenty of our MAST partners have been listening in on those, and we've had lots of people also participating in webinars too. Some of those have been listed on the UN World Ocean Day website, such as those people who have been involved in the One Ocean Hub. But for MAST, we obviously had our weekly seminar, which was hosted online, and this week's presenters were Dr. Bill Sanderson and his PhD student Hannah Lee. Their talk was titled The Deep Project, Progress and Challenges in Oyster Restoration. This session was recorded as well as its Q&A session, so if you want to check it out, link for that is below this video. On June 17th, our next MASTS webinar, it's Dr. Tanya Mendo. She is from the University of St Andrews and her talk is titled Understanding Potential Impacts and Assessing Possible Mitigation of Bycatch in Artisanal Shrimp Trawl Fishery in Peru. If that's a talk that interests you and you haven't registered, please check out the link that is below this video. You will also see all the other talks that we have coming up. There's availability in August, so if you think you want to give it a go, please just contact us at our usual email address, themast@standrews.ac.uk, and we can help facilitate that and organise a date for you. Tanya also presented another webinar this week as a part of the NOAA webinar series. She presented alongside Mark James from the University of St Andrews and our MASTS Operations Director, and their talk was titled Developing a Nationwide Monitoring for Small-Scale Fisheries, Experiences from Scotland. If that's a talk that interests you as well, it was recorded and has been is available online. A link for it is below this video as well. It talks about the CIFIS project, so if you're aware of that, please check it out as well. Another webinar that MASTS was involved in was the organisation of the latest SMMR webinar. This was hosted by Dr. Aisling Lennon from the MMO. Aisling is the head of evidence at the Marine Management Organisation. If you submitted a question but didn't have time to actually listen, get a chance to catch the answer, it was recorded and the whole session is online as well. A link for it is below this video. All previous SMMR talks are also available on the SMMR website. But enough about webinars. MEDIN, the Marine Environmental Data and Information Network, have put out a survey requiring people who have used their services to please explain, to document about their experiences and their use of publicly available marine data. It only takes 10 minutes and it is in association with Global Ocean Observation Systems. So if you've used MEDIN or GOOS, then please consider filling out the survey. It doesn't take very long, it's freely available. The link for that is below, and it will help inform ocean policy about data sharing and what we could consider about how we can make data more accessible to those who need it. So please consider filling out that. And now for my chat with Dr. David Wolf from Heriot-Watt University. David was involved in the SuperGen offshore renewable energy contribution to the Parliamentary Office Science and Technology note. So this note describes where the sector has been slow to develop, why that has occurred, and why and where the sector might be able to develop with further assistance and time. So I asked David to elaborate what was the background behind this note and just kind of briefly outline what also it discusses.
So when I moved to Scotland a little less than 14 years ago, there was a lot of optimism, and shortly thereafter there was actually targets made for 2020, which is now. Those targets have not been achieved. So I think as far as UK government and the UK's civil service is concerned, they wanted to know why and whether it's just something that they need to sort of give up on, or whether there was still a lot of hope, and if there was hope, how that might be achieved. So I mentioned one factor is it's probably just a bit more difficult than anyone thought, and that just requires time. Another very important part of it, I think, is just the amount of financing that has been available to this industry. Clearly, 12 years ago, we had a difficult financial situation, and we've got a difficult financial situation again now, and it was difficult to get investments. And also, there were maybe more promising investments. So part of the context of Raven Tide is the enormous success of offshore wind. So part of what is the future is looking at financial support that can work for Raven Tidal and will give it at least one more chance to succeed. And that means basically taking it out of direct competition with offshore wind, because frankly, at least for a few years, it won't be able to succeed in direct competition. The other part is or another large part of it is engineering innovation, and that just takes time and it takes a certain amount of support. And so even when the costs are fairly low, so something that a research council can support, there needs to be that funding available, and there needs to be some new thinking about how to do things. And that also is contained in the post note, talking about particular areas of innovation, also talking about things like, are there niche applications where learning could occur before you start competing on the sort of national grid basis. And as it happens, just in parallel to this, there has been an EPSRC call specifically on wave energy, which has come out very recently. And that has basically identified 5 bullet points of areas where new research proposals will be welcome. And that will hopefully get things started and fill some of those engineering technical gaps that need filling.
If you're interested in reading the note, it's about 3 pages long, it's freely available, and the link for that is below this video as well. And next is the update about the SMMR programme from Mark James.
Hello, this is Mark James, just here to give you a quick update on the Sustainable Management of Marine Resources programme, or the SMMR programme. As many of you will know, today, the 12th of July, is the submission deadline for the notification of intents to submit, or NOIs. As soon as those NOIs have been collated by UKRI staff, they will be presented to us, and provided you've given your permission, we will then send those NOIs to a group of people that we've pulled together from the various policy divisions in DEFRA, Marine Scotland, their counterparts in Wales and in Northern Ireland. Those individuals have taken on the responsibility and the confidentiality of dealing with each of those NOIs to provide feedback, and they will hopefully be able to give us some indication of whether those NOIs are fitting with their policy requirements and their areas of interest, whether they can suggest ways to improve those NOIs through expansion of partnerships, different partnerships, perhaps slightly changing the orientation. Some of that advice will be, and feedback will be, generic, and we will share that on the SMMR website. Some of it will be specific to individual NOIs, and we will respect the confidentiality of that information and return it specifically to those applicants. That process we hope we can complete in 2 weeks, and then you will have the opportunity to think about that feedback, decide how you would like to respond, and then you can talk to both David Patterson and myself, and we may be able to help you in terms of the development of your proposal with respect to expanding your partnership, perhaps thinking about how you may reorientate your proposal given the feedback that you've had on your notification of intent to submit. So we look forward to seeing those, and hopefully we'll be able to update you in a couple of weeks' time, and you'll be then able to progress your full proposals, which will be due in October. Okay, I hope that's been useful. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
And lastly, just a reminder, the deadline for the dynamics and Properties of Marine Systems case study call is the 19th of June. If you have any questions or you have a case study proposal that you would like to submit, please email that to our usual email address before that deadline. If you want to find out more and listen to my chat with research theme leader all about the case study call, please check out the MASTS cast that is going to appear somewhere up there. That's everything for this week, so stay safe and have a great weekend.